Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself. And you may see in my notes a slight difference. I've got a new camera, so things should be a little bit sharper. Hopefully, the files won't be too big because I don't want them to spend ages uploading to YouTube. But here, um, let's talk about today. This is the continuation on from the discussion that we began on the future of the GOP, which of course I started on Diane's Tarot. Many of you would have seen that video. And again, big shout out to Diane and thanks so much for having me back on. It was a pleasure, as always. And I put a survey out, and at the last time I checked, it was about 54% of you wanted to see me do a reading on the future of the GOP. So, of course, I began. Now, forgive the delay. I know I wanted it out sooner, but as we know, I'm back in the saddle, seeing clients again, and it's so wonderful, of course, to be back. And you guys are awesome, and again, amazing stories and stuff like that. And of course, if anyone would like a booking, then of course visit my website, thearchetypalblueprint.com. And also as well, just a few little things. I always forget to say this, but this is something that of course should be said. If you like the videos, please like and subscribe, and click the notification bell. And then when you hit the drop down menu, I think it says all. So the next time that I post a video, of course, you'll be notified immediately when that video is up, because I'm loving this interaction, creating these surveys and then seeing what your response is today as well. Again, like with some suggestions that have been put in there, I'm going to flash in a little bit of tarot at the end. Yeah. So let's get stuck in with that, because I do enjoy it, and I must confess I've actually done tarot for a long time. But there's of course people doing tarot. They do it full time, and as we know that I'm a neo-Vedic astrologer, so of course I do the sidereal placements, but I just can't help it, and it's just one of these things. It's almost like doing tarot with Diane. It's been so enjoyable that I think I need to kind of mix it in a little bit. So I'll do like a simple 3-card spread to when I talk a bit more about the future of the GOP. Now it's going to be a combination. I've not made that many notes directly on to the onto the demonstration chart, because I've done most of my notes here. And it's so funny, like I can always tell there might be something ominous with a chart if it gets a spill, and this one, it got water spill on it, and I just felt like, ooh, that could be something that gives an insight into the GOP. So, and also as well, you'll notice there's some daffodils here. Now this person knows who they are, without revealing too much, but they are amazing. In fact, I've actually got some more over on my desk, on my cabinet, because I got so many of them, and hopefully they've bloomed overnight, so hopefully they'll last a good long time, and they smell gorgeous, so they are wonderful. So thanks so much to who you are. In fact, I think I'm going to see you tomorrow actually for a consultation follow-up. Anyway, enough. The GOP, let's get talking. My goodness, these people are cray-cray. Yeah, they're so cray-cray now, aren't they? They're so cray-cray. So, as you know, those of you who would have seen me on Diane's Tarot, but just to recap slightly, I took the GOP and my research, just looking online and stuff. The vast majority of sources said the GOP initially formed on the 20th of March, 1854. Yeah, so some ways back, yeah, 100 and whatever years it is. And that was when they initially formed. Now, there was a time, which I think was in 1856, when they kind of even more formally came together, but they became a political force in some shape or form in 1854. Now, there wasn't a specific time of day, but because it was done in a sort of like in a gathering. Now, what one will find is that most political events tend to be timed to either noon, midday, or midnight. And because this was a public gathering, there's a high probability that people would have met at noon or in that morning time. And this is also March as well. So it's not like it would have been blazing hot sun or anything like that. This is March 20th, 1854. So they're just in the sort of like the beginning of spring. So you wouldn't really be wanting people there at 10 a.m. in the morning either. So I've picked noon. And as we know, noon tends to be where the hour of when the sun is highest in the sky in general, and Saturn and the sun, but particularly the sun as well, deals with government as well, high office. So anyway, so I use this and, it works great. Now, if we look here, the GOP, yeah, and as you know, I've got an alternative name for them, but, I don't want to rinse it out. You know what I think about the GOP. But nonetheless, if we look here, if you take the time of 12 noon on the 20th of the 3rd, 1854, that gives the GOP a Gemini ascendant. Now, what you'll see here, you'll see there's a lot of planets here, so this could look a little bit like a hot mess, but it's not. What I've done is this. Planets, the glyphs for planets in black are the GOP, yeah, in terms of their chart in 1854. The symbols in red are Trump's planets. And the symbols in the different colors, so here we've got Jupiter here in purple, Saturn here in blue, and Mars here in green. These are the transiting planets and what effects they're having, what they're triggering for the GOP, yeah? And then you'll see as well, I've also got the Mahadasha sequence as well, which I will read out. Okay, so straight off the bat, when you compare the chart of the GOP with Donald Trump, it is frightening. Basically, it is frightening. Do you remember when I did a little comparison as well between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Duck L'Orange? Yeah, similar thing. All right, so what do we know? The first house represents what? The body, yeah? You, the body, what you stand for, how you come across to people, communication style even can be seen from the first house. But essentially, it's the personality, the first impressions. Now, here, obviously the planets are in, but these do not belong to the GOP. What I've done is I've put in transiting Mars, because Mars is going to be in the sign of Gemini very soon. And in fact, if I actually just quickly look up my transit screens, so let's do animated transits. I kind of should have got this done before. If I look here, if I click forward by a few weeks, which is what I'm doing now, aha! So next week, even less than that, let me just do daily, and I'm going to click backwards and I'll give you the exact dates. All right, so it's looking here like Mars is going to move into the sign of sidereal Gemini on the 13th of April 2021. Make a note of that, yeah? The 13th of April 2021, Mars, planet of war, is going to go into the GOP's first house, yeah? And what we need to understand is this, is that Mars and Mercury are not friends. Mercury is sort of like indifferent, neutral to Mars, but Mars does not like Mercury. So there's always, pardon me, some kind of trouble, yeah? Some kind of hoo-ha when, particularly with communications, because Mercury is the planet of communication, when Mars is in Gemini, yeah? Can deal a lot with conflict, yeah? So it's going to be there, like I said, on the 13th of April, he moves in. And it will go in at 004 degrees, so literally just on that day. So it doesn't necessarily mean something will happen exactly on that day, but there's going to be something to do with the communications around the GOP that are going to be heating up. Yeah. And we know what's going on with a certain Matt Gaetz. Yeah. And all of that hoopla. So there's that. Not only that, you'll see here, planet, the glyph of Mercury is here. Now, this doesn't belong to the GOP. It belongs to Donald Trump. Yeah. It belongs to Donald Trump. So that means Donald is also going to be having Mars on his Mercury. Now, this is remarkable because this house is originally empty. So this helps to explain, like I said with Diane's Tarot, why the GOP are so obsessed with Trump. Because what is Mercury? Mercury is communications. Yeah, how we communicate with each other, emails, messaging, travel, short distance travel mainly, but can be long distance travel as well, education, the hands, yeah, tweeting is very, very Mercury. Tweeting, yeah. And we all know that Mr. Flippy Thumbs was up all night, tapping away on his Twitter, yeah. So he literally has become a part of the body of the GOP. Yeah, when they just saw him, they just thought, this is the guy for us. Yeah, on a deep instinctive level. And then when we look as well, there's something very interesting. Now, Trump, this would be Mercury sits in Trump's 11th house, yeah, because I know that this is Trump's 12th house and Leo is Trump's first house, yeah. Now, this is very interesting because the second house deals with money and resources, yeah, money and resources and stuff like that, which we know is quite, important for political parties, particularly the GOP. Now, what we see here, we see Pluto, we see Venus, and we see Saturn in Trump's chart falling right into the second house of the GOP. And this gives us an idea of why they've clung to him. Why? Because of money. Yeah. Venus is a planet of wealth, but also deals with women. Pluto is what? Power and transformation. Saturn is government. Yeah. Saturn is government. So they saw almost like a grand fundraising opportunity via Trump. But we need to remember this is Trump's 12th house, yeah? So he is dealing with monies in foreign lands, foreign governments, things to do with women, yeah? In the 12th house, the 12th house is also known as bed pleasures. And Pluto is what? Power, yeah? Power, manipulation. So there is this energy there of what's going on in Trump's chart, which falls into the GOP's second house. So that's to do with the fundraising, yeah? They wanted to get him in because they thought, and maybe quite rightly, that he could be a good fundraiser. They didn't worry about the sleaze or whatnot, or Stormy Daniels or whoever else was rolling around the bed at the time. It was much more about he can bring us money and he can be a spokesperson, yeah? Then we go to the third house. Yeah. Now this Leo is Trump's first house, but here we see one of our first major conjunctions. This, when you're comparing charts, this is what you look for: planets on top of each other, opposed to each other, or in each other's signs. Stuff like that. So we all know Duck L'Orange in Vedic astrology has a Leo ascendant with that Mars in the first house. Yeah, bombastic. Yeah, OTT. Trump's Mars is at 3 degrees and 40 minutes of Magha. Yeah, I remember what I've said before about Magha. Magha is the throne, deals with leadership, also deals with lineage. But when you drop the H from the Sanskrit name of Magha, you get what? Magha. We all know where that has led, yeah? Those famous red caps that some people keep under their tables. But anyway, whatever. So we know that this is a very significant thing. So we see here the GOP's Mars is also in Magha, but it's in the third house of communication. And it's at 8 degrees 36 minutes. Yeah. So that is basically a conjunction of just under 5 degrees, if I calculate that right. That is a very close conjunction. Anything that's 5 degrees or less is very, very strong. Even 10 degrees is has a strong influence. But this is like 5 degrees is a very, very strong conjunction. So there was an instantaneous rapport in the sense with the base. Yeah, the Republican base saw and identified something in Trump that they felt matched them. And they were right, because these two Marses, these two glyphs of Mars are literally on top of each other. And it's in the third house of what? Speech, communication of all kinds, the hands. Like I said, Trump's Mercury's in the GOP's first house, in the body of the party, becoming the spokesperson. And Mars, the third house, is also speech and communication and the mind and things that we talk about, things that we share with others, also deals with neighbors as well. But there's a lot here to do with what? Communications. So they wanted someone that could help them with their funding and could help cut through with the communications. Then we see here Trump's planets, Jupiter, Chiron, and Neptune. Now remember, his Neptune is in Hasta, which is what? The shadow of it can be manipulation. And this becomes Trump. This is Trump's second house. So Trump's second house of speech falls into the GOP's fourth house of homeland. Yeah, speaking to the homeland, to what? The base. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. And there, of course, is that element there of Neptune, you know, retrograde and the wounded healer. So all of this, and then Jupiter as well, which is what? Expansion. All falling in the fourth house of the GOP. Yeah. And then there's no planetary influence here on the fifth house, but let's go to the sixth, and kaboom, we see another massive and important conjunction. And it's to do with the moon and Ketu. Now, you would have seen me say on Diane's Tarot, whenever there's a connection between the two moons of people or a party or a nation, there is going to be this natural rapport, just instinctive rapport will happen. Yeah, it can't be helped almost. It's just that, because it's the moon. The moon is the mind, the emotions, our habits, the things that we do instinctively without even necessarily even questioning it. And this I find remarkable. Now you've got to remember, of course, this is the chart of 1854. Yeah, 1854. And yet Trump's moon and the GOP's moon are right on top of each other. The GOP's moon is at 24 degrees 49 minutes of Jyeshta, which is a part of Scorpio, which is actually technically the debilitation point of the moon. And then Trump's moon is at 28 degrees 5 minutes of Jyeshta. Yeah, so it's just a little further along and is actually on the Gandanta point. Yeah, this is why Duc Larange is so kind of a bit unstable. Yeah. But then there's also Ketu. Whenever you get the nodes of the moon touching on each other, it has a powerful correlation with fate and destiny in some way. So the more one examines these things, Trump really, you know, was going to have a profound effect on the GOP. Now, Trump's Ketu is at 27 degrees 41 minutes because he was born on an eclipse. Yeah, Trump was born on an eclipse. Now, the Ketu of the GOP is further away. It's at 11 degrees 30 minutes of Scorpio, but this is in a section which is called Anuradha. Now, the long and short of it is this. Anuradha, or this section was called Anuradha, is named after Radha, who was one of the followers of Krishna. Krishna was cursed to die, yeah? And the only cure was that one of his followers or whatever would have to basically sacrifice themselves in his place and basically live out this horrible existence in the gates of hell, basically, yeah? That's what it was about. And the only person that put themselves forward was Radha. So Anuradha deals with devotion. It is that section of Scorpio that really, really commits to death do us part, you know, Cathy and Heathcliff type energy. Yeah. So there is this extreme devotion to Trump that is basically almost self-destructive. Yeah, they just can't seem to leave the guy alone. Yeah, they cannot seem to leave the guy alone. Like I said on Diane's Tarot, it's almost as if they've got their headphones on, yeah, and they're not listening. Silent disco. So that will give you an idea into why they are so attached to this man. All right, and then we go here to the 8th house of the GOP's chart. Now remember that 8th house is what? Sex, death, and rock and roll. Scandals, yeah? Can deal with the darker side of sex, trafficking, all of this stuff. All the major icky stuff, the stuff that's difficult to talk about, money, sex, death, transformation, all of that stuff is what? The 8th house. And what we will see here now, natal Jupiter. So at the time when the GOP was formed, Jupiter was in their 8th house, and that does have a lot to do with scandals. Yeah, any planet in the 8th house can deal with, or love affairs or scandals. It can deal with transformation as well. Now, transiting Saturn in the blue here, this is where Saturn is right now. So Saturn is going through the GOP's 8th house, which means they're going under it. And remember, Saturn also represents government. So they're going through a profound transformation right now. Yeah. And on top of that, any planet in the 8th house automatically aspects the 2nd house of money. So the GOP, how they're being funded and stuff. And remember as well, Saturn is what? A planet of separation. Yeah, he can separate things. Remember all the stuff happening in Georgia? A few of the sponsors are what? Pulling out their support. It also means that transiting Saturn is looking at Donald Trump's natal Saturn. Yeah. So we all know what that means, that restriction. Yeah. And for Trump, it's falling into his 12th house of losses. Yeah. Not looking good for either Trump or the GOP, because of course they are wedded to him. So there is this element there that's going on. So also as well, the 8th house deals with other people's money, hidden donors, etc. Money under the table. Yeah. Hush money. Even maybe money, perhaps, because remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. And this, of course, is my opinion based on the transits of the planets, etc. But there is talk as well about what funded what? The insurrection, dark money, Saturn going through the 8th house, which has already gone over the top of the natal Jupiter for the GOP. Yeah, so all sorts of stuff about what? Funding, scandals, trafficking, with Matt Gaetz, yeah, and all of the shenanigans, and goodness knows what else is going to come up out of the woodwork. Yeah, it's all coming out now. Now, what's happened is Jupiter, transiting Jupiter, has gone into the GOP's 9th house, which deals with what? Higher philosophy, beliefs, etc. So really what's being examined and expanded now is, what does the GOP believe in? And if we look here, we've got Neptune with Venus retrograde. Venus deals with luxuries, good life, etc., all that stuff. When a planet's retrograde, it becomes more subconscious, but Venus also deals with women. Yeah. Neptune deals with deception and lies and scandals again. Yeah. And what is so interesting is that transiting Neptune has just gone over this natal Neptune point for the GOP. Yeah. And what's been coming up recently? All of the dirt, yeah, the insurrection, people that were maybe even gave people tours, everything, all of the whole hoopla about it, yeah, people being given money. And also as well, something to do with women, Venus, yeah, Jupiter is going over this point, and he went in on the 5th of April. So whatever's going on in there is going to be intensified, expanded, blown out, yeah. 9th house is values, philosophies, belief, lawmakers, yeah. So there's something going on here where lawmakers are, having something exposed about them. Yeah. Where is Jupiter looking? Jupiter is looking back at the third house of communication and is also looking at the first house of the GOP and the fifth house of the GOP. Guess what? The fifth house deals with what? Gambling, casinos, speculation, deals with romance, can deal a little bit with a little bit of sexy as well. Matt Gaetz, yeah, and who else? Interessante. So we see there's all this stuff going on. This is also being further triggered as well by Mars is triggering, well, when it gets to that point in April, like I mentioned, Mars is then going to trigger the fourth house of the GOP, which deals with the heart and the hearth and how we seek our comforts. So we already see Trump's planets are already causing a bit of disturbance there. Then transiting Mars will also be looking at the seventh house of the GOP, and the seventh house is anyone that's not us, so deals with the public perception. And then Mars will throw his drishti onto the GOP's eighth house. So when it comes to around about that the 13th of April, which is not that far away, I think there's going to be even more stuff that could come out. Or it could be that Matt Gaetz has to face, court or say something in court, but there's going to be some argy-bargy around that time because Mars is going to be aspecting the eighth house, heating it all up. Yeah, this is like clam chowder going on in here. It really is. Then we look at the 10th house, which has got the sun there, of course, in the 10th house, as you would expect, and this is something you would expect for a political party. But if we look here, there's something interesting, which is that this is Gemini technique. So the planet with the highest degree represents the soul, yeah, in terms of a planet that's put its thumbprint on the soul. So for the GOP, it's the moon, yeah? And we know the moon is what? Debilitated. It's a bit cra-cra, yeah? It's not for everyone, but when we look in this context, the moon doesn't function as well in Scorpio because there's too much intensity there, too much subjectivity, yeah? Too much inclination to a bit of scandal or intrigue, yeah? So we know that this is the Atmakarka, the soul signifier planet of the GOP. But then we also see as well the ascendant is Gemini, so that makes Mercury the chart ruler. And guess what? It's the planet with the second highest degree, which shows the career. And it's called the Ayatmakarka. So the Atmakarka and the Ayatmakarka work together to bring about certain results. So where those planets goes are very important. So we've spoken about the moon, but then we need to talk about Mercury. Now, if the moon is the clock face, then Mercury is the mechanism of the clock, yeah? The intelligence, how it's actually working. And you need a good Mercury in life. Why? Because life is complicated, yeah? We need to be able to think on our feet. Often people who have issues with Mercury, there's something they can't concentrate or calculate effectively or assess things accurately. Guess what? Mercury is debilitated in the sign of Pisces. So we've got the Atmakarka planet, the soul planet, and the Ayatmakarka planet and the chart ruler in Mercury, both of which are debilitated. It's as if the GOP cannot sort fact from fiction. Yeah? What's Pisces all about? Pisces is all about imagination, escapism, fantasy. And they've got the sun there, yeah, which means the kingdom. So they are prone, because the sun is with, and the sun is the third lord, yeah? So look, the sun is the third lord, third house, rules the third house. The third lord has gone to the 10th house of career. So it's bringing those elements of communication to that house. And it is sitting with the first house lord and the fourth house lord, which deals with homeland, yeah? But they're both in the sign of Pisces, which is fantasy, escape, nebulous. They literally cannot think straight. And what it means is the sun brings illumination. So it shows that they're more prepared to rely on lies rather than the actual truth. Because in terms of the planet of communication, Mercury, yeah, Mercury is the planet of communication in general, irrespective of what house. But the third lord, yeah, the third lord of communication is sitting in the 10th house of career, which is what? The public standing, yeah? Communicating something, but it's with the chart ruler who is debilitated, and they're in that, so they are incoherent. The GOP are incoherent. They're doing stuff, like I said, it's like they're in silent disco, dancing away, yeah, through the marketplace, and everyone's like, oh my God, what are they doing? Yes, they are voting against popular policies that are popular with even their Republicans, yeah? Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, irrespective of how we vote. We all want to be able to live, yeah? We need money in our pocket, we need a job, and we need food, yeah? And shelter. Those are like the four main kind of like preoccupations of being a human being here on planet Earth. So what does it mean when the GOP actually starts voting against ordinary people, when it starts voting against popular policy? Yeah, where's the rationale in that? So there is none. Yeah, doesn't make no sense. Yeah, stupid. Yeah, as we would say over here, stupid. Not now look, if a person's got a debilitated Mercury, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not intelligent. It means they can also think out of the box. My goodness, the GOP have really been pulling some moves of late, yeah, but it's too fantastical. It's fantastical. What it's all about, what? The big lie. Pisces is expansive. Yes, it's the most expansive sign, but it struggles with what? Boundaries. Can struggle with reality. Yeah, so they're holding on to what? The big lie, illuminating it as if it's going to sort them out, and it's not. Yeah, it's sort of helped them a bit, but not everyone believes it, of course. What's interesting here is in the 11th house, which can also deal with donors as well. The 11th house is great gains, yeah, great gains, our friends, social networks, technology, etc. If we look here, we've got here Uranus is in Bharani, which is a part of Aries, and it's actually come back to itself. Yeah, this is just remarkable stuff, you know, stuff just coming back to itself, like with the Neptune. Now, Bharani is labor pains. That's what it means. It's the part of Aries that deals with labor pains. So, you know, basically the GOP are going through a lot of labor pains right now. About what? Their associations, their networks, who's funding them, who they're rubbing shoulders with, where their great gains are coming from. Because here we see Pluto, yeah? And Pluto is what? Power. Pluto deals with the underworld. It's the money behind the money. It's the power behind the power. It means powerful and influential friends. This can also be dealing with donors. And it can also mean some of the donors are eccentric and unusual in some kind of way. Yeah, because Uranus is an unusual planet. So it's also connected with technology as well. And if we see as well, like with the changing of the voting and all that stuff, or not the changing of the voting, like what has been one of the main arguments that the GOP has said in the big lie is that, oh, the machines are rigged. Yeah, technology, part of this, you know, power and all of this stuff, trying to gain power by making these aspersions. But guess what? Pluto can also represent not only great wealth, but great debts as well. So it could be that they might find that donations might start drying up. Anyway, let's go to the 12th house of the GOP, which is probably one of the most fascinating houses that it's got. Now you see here 3 red planets, so we know who that is. That's Duck L'Orange. And Uranus is what? Sudden shocks and surprises, eccentric characters. Rahu deals with extroverts as well, and also eccentric characters. And there we've got the Sun, which is what? Like the career planet, where the light is shining. So this all falls into Trump's 10th house. But Trump's planets fall into the GOP's 12th house, which deals with what? Losses. Yeah, now it's not, there can be positive connotations as well of the 12th house. But in this context, when we look at what's going on, isn't it interesting? Trump's 10th house planets, which deals with his public standing and career and how he's seen, has fallen, is right in the GOP's 12th house of losses. So what he did as president is going to cause and has caused the GOP a tremendous amount of losses, haven't they? They've lost the Senate, they've lost this, that, and the other, they lost the election by a big portion. They're clinging on to this big lie, which everyone can see is BS unless, you're in the lie with them. But, most people can see this now. And they've hitched their wagon to him. And where is that wagon going? Downhill. Yeah. And it's all being triggered and activated, by the planets in transit. So there are little things as well where we can look here as well at the Navamsha chart, which is down here. And it's, it's a little bit too small to show you all on camera. But just some notes here. So they've got Rahu in the 11th house with Neptune, which is lies. So again, looking at the donors again. So this can deal with outrageous hidden secrets about true friends and donors. Yeah, so that we could have some stuff coming out about that. What else here is relevant as well? Here the GOP have got the Saturn with the Moon, yeah, which can be a tricky combination. So Saturn with Moon in the 9th house of philosophy and politics. So cold and detached from the public, only interested in elite agendas, which is the shadow of Aquarius, and it can also deal with perversion as well, yeah? Now, Aquarius is the sign of the people, but there is another side to it which can also deal with the elites. And the shadow of that, particularly as well, when you've got Saturn with Moon, Saturn chills the Moon. And the Moon is what? The public, the masses. So there's this chilling effect, one could argue, in the, in the Navamsha chart of the GOP, where they are cold and indifferent towards the public, which we've seen. Let's not forget, when the relief package was being voted on, not one Republican voted for the relief of the American people. And the Democrats should be singing this from the rooftops. Not one. Yeah? When America and the world is in such need, where people were still, queuing up at food banks and all of the cra that's been going on. And they were like this, yeah, didn't want to do nothing. So that also helps explain as well. Jupiter is also still in the 8th house, which is called Vargotama. Here's Jupiter here. And Jupiter, guess what, is debilitated in the sign of Capricorn. So the way that can manifest is, particularly with this sign, not always, but quite often, is greed. Yeah? Because Jupiter's highest ideals can't quite find expression, yeah, fully. Now, it is good for practicality and it can be good for money, but it can get over the top and it can become a lot about greed. And also as well, what is the sign of Capricorn? It deals with what? Government, governmental greed. There we are. You see how it all starts to play out. And what's interesting is that this transiting Mars is going to be coming to the 1st house again, yeah, in terms of the D9, the Navamsha chart. So really, we're going to see some fireworks of some kind of description when it comes to the GOP and what's going on. Now, in terms of the GOP's future, basically, if they carry on in the vein that they are now, I can't really see how long they're going to last, really. Something is going to change. There are huge tectonic pressures and shift. And if they keep on this kind of, it's like a suicide mission almost, a deluded suicide mission, even their base is going to turn against them. Because let me tell you one thing is this, irrespective of what people think about Joe Biden, when someone deposits a check into your bank account and it's for some good money, you remember that. Yeah. Imagine even if an enemy paid you money, you would remember it. Yeah, this is why bribery works. And I'm not saying it's bribery, but do you know what I mean? Even the most staunchest of Trumpists, yeah, would have seen that money drop into their account. You think they're not going to spend it? Of course they are. You think that a part of them, you know, they might be like this. Oh, well, it's in my account now. Yeah, buy a new barbecue grill or anything like that. It's, you know, there is something about that that will shift opinions, yeah, because people will remember. And people will also remember, even the most staunchest Trumpist will know, no one in the GOP voted for that check in their account. Yeah, people will put the two together. People also want as well, what do they want as well? Infrastructure. And like I said in my previous video on the future of America, if America passes, if this stimulus package is able to get through and America is able to greenify, then it will become the wonder of the world. Yeah, that's a high prize. That's something worth fighting for. And we know the GOP aren't going to do that because Mitch McConnell, man, yeah, has said we're not voting for anything. Do they think that penny is not going to drop? Do they think people are not going to be able to see that they're just in it for themselves? Come on. So we'll have to see, and they're going to have to go through a transformation. So it's either going to be a transformation process where they kind of ditch what they're doing now and actually start becoming like something resembling a reasonable party again, or they keep on in cuckoo land. And then it kind of blows up in their face, and anyone that is sort of like a decent Republican, because I'm sure there's many out there, you know, remember this is not people that voted Republican, yeah, we're talking about the party. If they carry on in this vein, those people will have no choice. So they're either going to be abstain, they'll either go independent, or there might even be some point where the Republican Party might just have to become something else, yeah? But either way, there's going to be lots of stuff in the news, and I think there's going to be a little bit more, and Mars is going to be the trigger for it. By that time, remember, around the 13th of April, not too long, it's only the 9th now, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4 days from now, yeah? There's going to be a bit more hoo-ha in the news, which sounds about right, isn't it, given what's there? Anyway, that's enough from me, so I hope you found that interesting. If you would like a consultation with me, then of course, please feel free to visit my website. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed what you've seen, and I'll be putting up the little thumbs up, little emoji things. What's the time now? It is now 7 minutes past 12, yeah? Midnight for me, and I've got consultations in the morning, but I had to get this video done, so I'm going to try and edit it now. Hopefully it won't take me too long. Get that posted up so you've got your video, yeah? And then of course feel free to comment below what videos you might want me to do next, or just your opinions on the GOP and where it's going. Oh goodness, and I've got a let's draw 3 cards. Now I'm just going to do it like this, yeah? I'm just going to do it like this. 1, 2, do it psychic Violetta style, yeah? 3. All right, card number 1, what do we have? Oh, look at this. The High Priestess, secrets and intrigues, yeah? Secrets and intrigues. I hope that's not too shiny because, you know, I've got my ring light on. Wow. All right, High Priestess. Let's see what, so that is the situation right now. Yeah, the situation right now. And of course, that's what's coming out. Secrets and intrigues of all kinds. Yeah, hidden stuff, hidden knowledge, hidden money. Yeah. All right. Here we are. We've got the 5 of Wands. The 5 of Wands, and this is what is the obstacle. And the obstacle is partisanship and struggle. Yeah, if we think of the 5 of what now, for me, I'm using my wonderful Egyptian deck. Yeah, the Egyptian deck, which is by Julie Kuchia Watts. For those of you that are interested in these things, I know you are, so I thought I'll get that up there. Beautifully painted, gorgeous. So there is infighting, struggle, yeah, struggle. They're like, oh my goodness, what's going on, because of the Matt Gaetz stuff. And of course, there was the pardoning argy-bargy, yeah, which didn't happen, but there was a request that was put in, yeah. Now, outcome card, let's have a look. Oh, we have the Empress. Now, for many of you that watch tarot channels and stuff like that, and of course many of you do, if we think, for example, of Revealing Light Tarot, she's amazing, isn't she? For her, the Empress represents what? Russia. Yeah. So this is interesting, but if we think, what is the Empress about? The Empress is about fecundity. Yeah, the Empress is about fecundity. It's about creativity. It is about, so really like the outcome here is this almost like the preoccupation of the GOP is its comfort. Yeah, it's how it's going to maintain its funding going forward. We also know that this, because this has come up as so many readings as Russia, this could also be as well that little adventure, that little trip to Russia. You remember once upon a time, I think it was July 4th, this could come back to haunt the GOP. Remember, Mars is going to trigger off something, so there could be some spiel about that. But it's also as well how it supports itself, how it achieves its material comforts. So this is still the main priority of the GOP, which is what? Trying to get the money in, yeah, appealing to the voters, etc. So I think I will leave it there. And thanks so much for tuning in. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. And then I look forward to seeing what you want for the next video. So thanks so much. Cheers.